They built 35 homes on my land. Not near it, not next to it, on it, without asking, without paying. Without a single permit filed in my name, and for a long time, I let them. I watched quietly as survey flags popped up like weeds. I watched as backhoes tore through the tree line and concrete was poured over my grandfather's favourite fishing bank. But I stayed quiet, until the day I didn't, until I opened the dam. It started innocently, almost invisibly. First, pink plastic markers at the edge of my woods. Then a strange crew with clipboards pacing my lower pasture. When I asked what they were doing, one guy barely looked up. "Just mapping community expansions," he said. "You're outside the zone. That didn't sit right. My deed said otherwise." The original land grant went back to 1896, 112 acres, clear as day, with the north boundary marked at Crystal Run and the old floodgate dam. But the trucks kept coming. I contacted the local zoning office. They told me permits had been issued for Section C of Pine Hollow Community, but that section was listed on county plats as common land owned by the HOA. I faxed over my deed, topo survey, and hydrology maps. No response, so I drove down there myself. The clerk scanned my documents, raised an eyebrow, and said, "Well, this changes things." I asked if he'd be contacting the HOA. "Not my job," he shrugged. "Civil matter." That was when I met Sharon Cranley, HOA president, pal suit, stiff smile. The kind of woman who treated neighborhood potlucks like G7 summits. She invited herself to my porch with an air of rehearsed charm. "Mr. Barnes," she said, "we believe there's been a misunderstanding about the property line." I showed her the deed. She barely looked at it. "That's cute," she said. "But the homeowners have already moved in. What exactly do you want?" I said I wanted them off my land. She laughed. "That's not going to happen." 3 weeks later, I received a formal letter threatening me with HOA fines for interference with neighborhood development. That's when I knew it wasn't arrogance, it was a scam. And not a small one. You see, the new Section C was built right on top of my waterline. Crystal Run ran underground through a man-made channel that fed into a retention basin. The very same dam my grandfather built in 1950 to control spring flooding. That dam had been dormant for decades, but I'd kept it intact, maintained. Just in case. In May, they built the last house, number 35, just 20 feet from the overflow trench. The next week, I sent a registered letter. "You have until June 1st to vacate and deconstruct all structures on my land. If no action is taken, I will no longer maintain the integrity of the dam." They ignored it. On June 2nd, at precisely 5:01 a.m., I walked to the lock gate that shielded the control lever. I turned the valve slowly, with purpose. It wasn't explosive, just methodical. The water flowed into its natural channel, unobstructed. For the first time in years, by 7 a.m., the lower lots were submerged to the porch beams. By noon, structural inspectors had declared 19 homes unsafe. The HOA tried calling it sabotage. I called it gravity. Let me be clear, I didn't break a single law. The runoff path had been on every hydrology survey since 1971. They built in a flood zone, over private land, using falsified zoning maps. That's their crime, not mine. News vans arrived within 24 hours. I gave no interviews, just handed reporters a flash drive with drone footage, legal docs, and the letter I sent them weeks prior. The HOA board scrambled, but it was too late. Engineers confirmed illegal grading. County officials declared the development null. Insurance companies refused claims due to zoning fraud. Homeowners filed lawsuits. One woman wept in front of cameras, saying, "They told me it was a lake view. They never said it was the lake." The HOA collapsed in days. Sharon Cranley vanished from the neighborhood and moved to towns over. I heard she tried suing me personally, but was laughed out of court. The judge reportedly asked, "Did you read the deed?" By fall, the land was silent. Again, I hired a crew to bulldoze the remaining skeletons of houses. The air smelled clean again. Deer returned to the ridge, herons nested by the basin. My grandfather would have smiled. Sometimes justice doesn't come with sirens. Sometimes it flows quiet, deliberate, and unstoppable like water.